XRP to $4 next year. Sounds a little crazy, I know, but I did stumble onto something strange, a clue in Japan that could actually make even the skeptics raise an eyebrow. Now, let me tell you, I almost laughed this off as the latest XRP price predictions, right? Until I saw what Ripple has actually been quietly setting up overseas. Now, I can't stop thinking about this. Could Japan actually hold the key to XRP's next big move? Okay, so let's back up for a second here. 2025, it was supposed to be the year for XRP. After the big legal win against the SEC and all of the hype around crypto ETFs, a lot of people, myself included, had hoped that XRP would blast to new all-time highs by the end of this year. Fast forward to now, and, well, not so much. In fact, XRP has been bouncing around between $1.80 and $2.40 lately. It's around $2 as I speak right now, which is roughly 40% down from a multi-year high of $3.65 that we saw just a few months ago. So even the launch of some new XRP-focused ETFs hasn't even given it a bit of a jolt. I mean, Bitwise rolled out an XRP ETF, Canary followed with their own, and this week we've got Grayscale's GXRP and Franklin Templeton's EZRP while coming online. Now, normally you would have thought, wow, ETFs, moon time, right? But no, not so far. XRP's price has barely even flinched. The market is still in a bit of a funk, and all that bullish news has barely made a dent. So, with the year-end 2025 looking quiet, where's all of the excitement really coming from? Why are some people whispering that 2026 could be the year for XRP? Well, to find out, I actually went digging into these predictions because in our free Discord, the link for that, by the way, is in the description, everyone has been debating whether XRP is gearing up for a comeback or not. And what I found out is actually pretty interesting. It actually all revolves around Japan. Yes, Japan, the country that's arguably one of Ripple's strongest strongholds. And it is cooking up something that might give XRP a serious boost. So here is the scoop. Ripple has a new stablecoin that is called RLUSD, short for Ripple USD. Now, by the first quarter of 2026, they're planning to launch it in Japan in partnership with SBI Holdings. Now, if you've been around crypto for a while, you'll probably know that SBI is a pretty big deal, right? We've been, at least they have been, Ripple's close partner for many years, and Japan's regulatory climate is super friendly towards crypto compared to a lot of other places. They already have clear rules for crypto and even specific regulations for stablecoins. So, Ripple basically said, all right, Japan is the perfect spot. Let's roll out RLUSD there. Now, this stablecoin is fully backed by actual dollars and treasury audited monthly, right? The whole 9 yards with it. It's designed to be a bridge between traditional finance and crypto, and it's totally compliant with Japan's laws. Now, why does that matter for XRP? Well, just imagine Japanese banks and payment companies suddenly having a green light to use Ripple's issued stablecoin for their own settlements. They could integrate it into remittance systems, maybe use it to shuttle, I should say, money between different countries instantly. Right, Japan to the Philippines is one corridor mentioned an awful lot. Now, if that does take off, it indirectly shines a spotlight on XRP and the Ripple ecosystem as a whole. Even though RLUSD itself is a dollar-pegged token, it runs on Ripple's technology. More usage of Ripple's network basically could mean more demand for XRP as the bridge asset, or simply just more confidence in anything that Ripple touches. At least, that is the theory. Now, I know that's a lot of ifs and a lot of coulds. Now, I was skeptical too, but then I came across an analysis by a financial outlet, 24/7 Wall Street, that actually laid out a few different scenarios for XRP's price in 2026, and they all center on how this Japan stablecoin launch plays on out. Now, it was kind of like reading 3 different storylines for XRP's future. So, let me break them down in plain English. First up, we have the best case scenario, the bullish story. RLUSD, it launches in Japan and absolutely takes off, right? We're talking banks and payment processors jumping on board pretty early. Maybe SBI leads the charge and others say, hey, we want in. Sooner rather than later, that is. And in this particular scenario, one big use case is remittances. Think about all the money that is sent between Japan and other countries like the Philippines. 24/7 Wall Street, they figure that corridors alone could see around $300 million per month flowing through RLUSD if adoption is strong. Now, that is a lot of volume. Now, add on top of that another factor, crypto market conditions, and those improving. Now, perhaps Bitcoin's dominance in the market starts falling, meaning that money starts rotating into altcoins once again. Fingers crossed, right? Well, let's say more investment flows into these new XRP ETFs steadily, bringing fresh capital into XRP. Now, if that happens, 24/7 Wall Street thinks that XRP could climb into the $3.50 to $4.50 range by the end of 2026. Yeah, over $4. Now, finally, breaking that elusive all-time high from 2018. It's kind of been a bit of a rosy scenario that makes long-term XRP holders smile just a bit. Now, the middle of the road scenario, the cautious story, if you will. Now, in this particular one, RLUSD, it still launches on time. And, of course, SBI, being Ripple's big partner, uses it. But other banks, well, they take let's say their sweet time. Maybe a few pilot programs here and there, but nothing massive right away. So instead of $300 million a month, maybe you get something like $100 to $150 million monthly volume in Japan using RLUSD. Decent, I know, but it's not earth-shattering, is it? Meanwhile, Bitcoin remains the attention hog of 2026. Its dominance, it stays quite high, so we don't really get a full-fledged altcoin season that a lot of people would expect. That means projects like XRP, they aren't seeing huge capital inflows beyond the usual crypto market growth. Now, in that particular scenario, XRP might just hover between $2.30 and $3.30 for most of 2026. In other words, a bit up from where we are now, but nothing to write home about. It would be okay, just not life-changing gains that some people are hoping for. Kind of a steady as she goes kind of year. Now, for the worst case scenario, or the bearish story if you will. Now, this is one that no one really wants to consider, but what if RLUSD's rollout hits a few delays? Governments and tech rollouts, sometimes they just don't go as planned, right? So let's say it gets pushed to late 2026 for widespread use, either due to extra regulatory hurdles or some technical kinks, right? Now, in the meantime, institutional interest in those XRP ETFs kind of fizzles out maybe. Maybe the novelty wears off, or other investments just look a little bit more attractive. On top of all of that, picture Bitcoin's dominance ripping past 60 to 65%, sucking the oxygen out of the room for the altcoins. Now, if that's the backdrop, XRP could, I guess be a bit meh, around the $1.80 to $2 range for the whole time. Basically flat compared to where it is right now, maybe even just a little bit down. It would be a pretty frustrating and stagnant year for the XRP holders under those conditions. There's simply no sugarcoating it. So that's 3 scenarios. 3 very different outcomes. One has us all popping champagne with XRP at the multi-dollar highs. Another has us grinding through a meh year. And the last one? Well, the last one would test the patience of even the strongest XRP believers. So, which one will it be? Well, honestly, no one can say for sure. Crypto has a way of keeping us all quite humble. But these scenarios give us at least a roadmap of what to watch out for. For me personally, I'm hopeful that I'm also realistic. Now, I'd love to see XRP rocket past $4 in 2026. I mean, who wouldn't, right? But I'm also not betting the farm on it happening overnight. The bullish case, it hinges on several things like Japan banks jumping in early. So I'm going to be watching Q1 2026 very closely to see if RLUSD gains any traction quickly. And if we start hearing that major banks in Japan are starting and setting up transactions and settling transactions, I should say, with Ripple stablecoin, well, that's going to be making a few headlines, and you can bet that I'm going to be covering it. On the flip side, of course, if the launch is quiet or gets delayed, then I'll know to temper my expectations. Either way, I'm preparing for multiple outcomes here. Hope for the best, but plan for the not so great. Pretty much my entire crypto mantra. Now, before I share how I'm planning, at least how I'm planning and what I'm going to do to stay ready here, let me slip in the very important disclaimer, because let's face it, you knew that it was coming. And this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so I'm glad that we got that out of the way. Basically, don't blindly trust some guy on YouTube, even if that guy is me. Right? You should do your own research. Now, let me tell you what I'm doing on my end as we head into the kind of uncertain 2026. Now, one of the big part of my strategy is to stay rather flexible here, especially with exchanges. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned from the past few years, yes, I'm looking at you, FTX and other exchanges, is that putting all of your eggs into one basket or one exchange is a bit of a risky move. Exchanges, they can go down. They can freeze your withdrawals, get hacked, you name it. So I make sure that I have multiple accounts on multiple different exchanges. Now, all set up and verified ahead of time. Think of this as like a plan A, plan B, and plan C. So if my go-to exchange suddenly suspends XRP trading or goes offline at the worst possible time, I don't want to be stuck twiddling my thumbs. I can just quickly switch to another platform and, well, keep on rolling. I highly recommend that you consider the same approach. In fact, on my website, linked in the description down below, I have actually listed all of the crypto exchanges that I currently use. These are affiliate links, which means that if you do use those to sign up and trade on those exchanges, actually helps support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. So a big thank you to anyone who spends the time to go and do that. The key point is this though, be prepared. When volatility hits, whether XRP is skyrocketing or tanking, you're going to want options, to where you can buy, where you could sell, and how you could move your assets around. Because having multiple exchange accounts is like having multiple exits in a movie theater. You hope you're never going to need them in an emergency, but you're going to be glad that they are there. Hand in hand with that is the idea of self-custody and security. Now, I can't stress this part enough. If you're in crypto for the long term, get yourself a hardware wallet. Now, I personally use Ledger to store and at least the majority of my crypto, including my XRP. Why? Because if an exchange implodes or gets hacked, then my coins on that ledger are at least safely offline, under, well, my control. Now, we've all heard the horror stories of people who've lost access to their funds because an exchange went bust. Now, I refuse to be one of them, and I don't want any of you to go through that either. So, here's a quick security PSA, if you will. Consider a hardware wallet to protect your crypto stash. And if you decide to get one, Ledger or any other reputable brand, always buy it directly from the manufacturer. Don't go through some random third-party seller on eBay or Amazon, for example, because there's always fakes that are out there. Now, I have the official Ledger link on my website if you need it. And yes, again, that is another affiliate link. Using it supports the channel here and it doesn't cost you anything extra. But, however you want to go and do it, just make sure you're getting a genuine device and you're setting it up properly. It's an extra step, but I know. But trust me here, sleeping easy at night knowing that your assets are safe, it's kind of worth it. Now, aside from watching XRP news like a hawk and shoring up my exchanges and my wallet game, I'm also been exploring a few new ways to earn crypto on the side. Now, if you've been following the channel, you've probably heard me mention Unity nodes a fair few times. Now, this is a really interesting project that I did get involved with, and it's part of my broader plan here to diversify how I engage with crypto. So let me just give you a quick rundown. You see, Unity is basically a joint venture between World Mobile and Minutes Network, and it allows everyday people like us to contribute to a decentralized telecommunications network. and you get paid for it. It's kind of like mining, but instead of running expensive hardware to crunch a bunch of math problems, you actually use smartphones that perform useful tasks for telecom companies. Think of it like these phone calls and texts that are flying around the world. Telecom companies need to verify and monitor network quality, detect any issues, prevent fraud, all of the behind the scenes stuff, right? Well, Unity Nodes crowdsources this by having people's phones run an application that does the network tests and verification. Now, in return, you actually earn rewards in crypto. Now, it's kind of like turning your spare phone into a mini cell tower tester that earns you money on the side. It's pretty cool, right? And the best part is that it's not some new token that you haven't heard of that they're going to be paying you in. You can actually choose to be paid in many different cryptocurrencies. Now, I was rather intrigued by this when I first heard about it, and it sounded almost too good to be true. So I did my research and I eventually did buy a Unity Node software license to give it a try. Now that license basically is my ticket into the network. It actually came with 200 operator licenses bundled together with it. Now that basically means that I can connect up to 200 phones under my one node license. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going crazy and setting up 200 devices right off of the bat. Can you imagine 200 phones in the back wall here? It would be pretty crazy. Now, I'm starting small with about 10 phones just to test the waters, right? I want to see how the application runs. I want to see what the rewards look like and get a feel for the whole system on a smaller scale. And if it works as advertised and proves to be profitable, well, I'm going to scale this up gradually. Maybe 20, 50, 100 phones, who knows? Maybe eventually all 200 licenses active. But baby steps first, right? Now, here is what I found really appealing. The rewards from Unity can be paid out in various different cryptocurrencies, and most recently, Unity has partnered up with Polkadot to offer DOT as a payout option, and Shiba Inu to offer SHIB tokens as a payout option too. And I get to choose my payouts in a mix of different things. Personally, I'm setting mine to be paid out in Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, and XRP, the heavy hitters that I'm trying to accumulate for the long term. So, if Unity does what it promises, it'll passively be stacking sats and, drops and all these other different cryptocurrencies just by contributing to this network. It's kind of like staking or mining, but for the telecom infrastructure. Now, of course, I'm keeping my expectations realistic. This is a new venture after all, and like anything in crypto or life, there are going to be no guarantees of returns. It's an experiment for me, albeit a rather exciting one. So if you are curious about Unity nodes, then I'm going to put some links in the description down below for their light paper and their rewards calculator that they have, so that you can check out all the nitty-gritty details for yourselves. Do your own research on it, like I did, and that's why I felt confident enough to jump in. The concept might sound a little bit futuristic, turning phones into network nodes, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense. It's leveraging unused smartphone capacity to help telecom networks, and you get rewarding users for it. Now, given how much I talk about making your crypto work for you, this felt like a natural extension, making my devices work for me too. Again, this Unity thing isn't the main focus of today, but I did want to bring it up because it's part of how I'm positioning myself going forward, diversifying not just my assets, but my income streams within crypto too. So, between keeping an eye on XRP's Japan catalyst, securing my assets, having backup exchanges, and experimenting with projects like Unity, you can tell that I'm all about being prepared and proactive with my crypto journey here. Now, I've been in this space long enough to know that you cannot predict everything, but you can educate yourselves and set yourselves some safety nets. That's actually one of the reasons that we started our own crypto education platform called cheekyschool.com. Some of you guys already know about it, but for those who don't, we do have a whole bunch of courses on there covering everything from trading basics to advanced portfolio management and risk management strategies. So if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by the crypto market or just want to sharpen your skills for 2026, then it's definitely worth checking out. There's a link in the description down below, and a good thank you, or as a thank you for all of you guys supporting the channel here, you can use the code YT50OFF, as in YouTube 50 off, to get 50% off of any course. Education is an investment in yourself that never goes to zero, right? At least I tell myself that. Now, I'm a huge believer in that one. Whether it's through formal courses or just soaking up knowledge from communities, it pays dividends in the end, especially in a field as crazy and fast moving as crypto. Now, speaking of community and knowledge sharing, I want to extend an invite to anyone who hasn't already joined us on Discord. We've got a free educational Discord, the link is in the description, with a fantastic community. It's honestly one of the best places to be if you want to discuss crypto news, bounce ideas around, or ask questions. I hang out there an awful lot, lots of other knowledgeable people hang out there too, and it's completely free to join. If you're not in there, hop in and say hello. We would love to have you, and it's a great way to stay connected, especially as we all watch how these 2026 developments play on out. Alright, so let's bring this home. What's the takeaway from this entire video? Well, for me, it's that XRP's future, be it a moonshot or a slow crawl, is actually being shaped right now by things that are happening behind the scenes, like Ripple's moves in Japan. It's a reminder that crypto, it isn't just about the charts and the tweets, it's actually about the real world adoption and infrastructure, which sometimes takes time to actually bear fruit. Now, I'm excited about all of these possibilities for XRP in 2026, but I'm also at peace with however it plays out because I've got my plan A, my B, my C all in place. And hey, if XRP does hit $4 plus, then you can bet that I'm going to be celebrating right alongside all of you guys. And if it doesn't, well, I'm still going to be here, accumulating, learning, and sharing everything that I learn with you guys. You see, the crypto journey is a wild one. It's full of twists, just like this Japan story that came out of nowhere. But that's why we love it so much, right? It keeps us on our toes. So stay informed, stay safe, and stay flexible. For now, you can do me a favor by hitting that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and let's see what 2026 has in store for us.